to the TWSN YouTube channel. My name is Harrison Vapnek. Before we get into the new college football playoff rankings breakdown, I'm going to ask you first to subscribe to the TWSN on YouTube, subscribe to the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got so much great content coming. NBA season just getting started. NHL season just getting started. College football playoff race heating up. The NFL postseason or the NFL season has been spectacular so far. We have it all covered. Also, subscribe to the TWSN Patreon, the best bets in NBA, NFL, college basketball, NHL. So many great picks. Our CEO, Malik Wright, has been hitting on a lot of his parlays. I'm 60% of my college football bets are hitting. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe, make some money at the TWSN Patreon. Now let's get to the college football playoff rankings. Let's get to the rankings. We'll start at the top. I have some chicken scratch notes on some index cards, that some discussion points that I'll be getting into with these rankings. Got a lot to talk about. So many great things. You know, the thing I love most with the Cultural Playoff Committee, it's not the BCS anymore, where it's like, I think we have a lot more parity with these rankings. There's so many more discussion points, so much chaos happening. Let's start at the top. Georgia number one, basically no surprise there. Thought everyone expected this to happen. They've been the best team in college football season long. My preseason national champion. I'm continuing to roll with the dogs. Number one, no surprise. Alabama number two. The committee was really valuing their wins lower in the rankings because they have wins against Mississippi State and Ole Miss, who are currently ranked 16 and 17 respectively. So if they put those teams there strategically to give Bama a better resume, that makes sense. The eye test, Bama's been fine. They had struggled a little bit with Tennessee. I have them at number two in my rankings. Was a little surprised to see them at number two in the committee's rankings. Number three, Michigan State. This was heat of the moment. They had the big win against Michigan last week. Emotional win at home. The Kenneth Walker 5-touchdown game. It makes sense to put them there this week. Do I think they're the third best team in the country? No, but is it the heat of the moment rankings? Have big win against a good team? Yeah, I listed off the 5 best wins in college football this year. I think Michigan State's win against Michigan is the third best win. I think the committee agrees with that also. 4 and 5, Oregon, Ohio State. This is what we expected. The head-to-head. They're not forgetting about what happened in week 2. Early September, Oregon goes to the Horseshoe, the second best win in college football this year, according to my list, and they got it done. And I like that the committee is not forgetting about this game. The committee, what they're doing is, in the past, we've kind of gotten away from the head-to-head. These rankings emphasize head-to-head more than any set of college playoff rankings I've ever seen. Oregon ahead of Ohio State was the right move. I said this on last TWSN tailgate last week. I am not impressed with what Ohio State has done the last month or so. They've beaten bad teams. I didn't even think they looked that great against Penn State last Saturday. We'll see how they look against Nebraska and then later on against Michigan State. I think number 5 is the right spot for Ohio State. Biggest spot of the rankings. The biggest discussion point was the team at number 6, the Cincinnati Bearcats. They're ranked number 2 in the AP poll. I believe number 2 in the coaches poll as well. And look, this was a statement from the committee. They were saying to Cincinnati, look, you've basically gone to sleep the last 2 weeks. You didn't play well against Navy. You didn't play that well against Temple, and you have to be punished. This is a team that hasn't won anything yet. Cincinnati, they talk about the respect they deserve and the respect that they've gained. I understand they were outstanding at the end of the 2019 season when undefeated in last year's COVID year. They were only playing teams in the American. And then this year, they're 8-0 so far. They have the big win at Notre Dame, the 4th best win in college football this year, according to my list. Cincinnati's statement needed to be said. They need to do more. After they beat Notre Dame, I said that if they go win every game by 50 points and look impressive in these games, because that's all they can do. They cannot control who they play at this point. They just control the outcomes of those games. They have to play better. And I still think they shouldn't be worried. I still think their playoff is more in their control. They just have to play better football. They're going to get Houston, it looks like, in the American Championship game. Houston's on the rankings, so I'll get to that at the end. But I think Cincinnati, you have to do more. I think this is more of a wake-up call for them. I expect them to answer the bell. They have a big game against Tulsa this week. I love Cincinnati. Minus, I think they're a 23.5-point favorite in that game. They're gonna have a statement to prove. 7, Michigan. I don't think they're better than Oklahoma. Oklahoma at 8. Oklahoma, if there's one team on the set of rankings that should be worried, it is the Oklahoma Sooners. That team should be worried about their position right now, because right now, if they go, they're 3 wins away from the regular season being ending. They have games against the 11th and 12th ranked teams on this list. They don't have a single win against a ranked team right now in the college football playoff poll. They should be worried right now. They need to play better, and they need to run the table. And I'm not sure they could beat both Oklahoma State and Baylor in those kind of consecutive weeks. They still have their bye week ahead. But the Sooners should be kind of worried about what's ahead. Michigan, they just got to take care of business. They got to go to Penn State and win next week. They have to beat Ohio State, which they haven't done in 10 years. I don't make too much of Michigan ahead of Oklahoma, but man, Oklahoma should be worried. Wake Forest at 9 was a little surprising. Their best win is a 4-3 Army team. They actually, no, their best win's against Virginia, I should say. But they haven't really beaten anyone good yet. They don't play Pitt in the regular season. They got 4 more games left against. They still got to play Clemson. They still got to play NC State. I know Clemson hasn't been Clemson. Got to play NC State, who's in this rankings. Have to play Boston College, who's not a bad team. Wake Forest goes undefeated. I'm not sure they're officially out, but 13-0. They have wins against Pitt, who are lower in these rankings. I think they're what? It's Pitt's 25. I think that it's in play for Wake Forest. Quickly go through Notre Dame. They're at 10. Oklahoma State at 11 and 12. Oklahoma State 11, Baylor 12. They both got a shot at Oklahoma. These two teams have a chance to go to the Big 12 championship. I don't know if a one-loss Big 12 team, if either of these teams go 12-1, they'll definitely be in the discussion. Speaking of teams that are in the discussion, 13, Auburn. If there's one 2-loss team that can make the playoff, it's Auburn. What they need to do is they need to go Texas A&M as an underdog and win this weekend. I think they can. They win their other 2 games. I think they still play Arkansas, and then they play Alabama. If they beat Alabama at home, they go to the SEC championship. They'll play Auburn. If they win that game, Auburn is a 11-2 SEC champion. They're in the playoff. Texas A&M, I believe, can also get in. They some tiebreakers weird in the SEC West. They already have the head-to-head against Bama. If they somehow go to the SEC championship and beat Auburn or beat Georgia, that is. But I think it's a lot more realistic that Auburn does it because Auburn controls their own destiny. If there's a 2-loss team, it's Auburn. People are saying, if Alabama loses the SEC championship to Auburn, do they still make the playoff? No. Under no circumstances will a 2-loss non-conference champion make the playoff. The committee has already set that precedent with Georgia in 2018 when they didn't put them in. They put Oklahoma in ahead of them. No 2-loss non-conference champion will ever make the playoff. You can old takes expose this if this somehow happens. I promise you it will not happen. 2-loss Alabama, who does not win the SEC, will not make the college football playoff. The only 2-loss team that can make it is either Auburn or Texas A&M. BYU 15. Okay. Ole Miss 16. Sure. Mississippi State at 17 is mind-boggling. This is a team that won by 1 point against Louisiana Tech. This is a team that lost to Memphis. The only reason they are ranked is because they've wins against NC State, who's number 19 on this list. They beat Kentucky, who's 1 spot behind them. And that's it. Like they beat Texas A&M, who's at 13 as well. Texas A&M's 14. I know they have good wins, but does anybody in the world believe Mississippi State's the best 3-loss team in college football? If Mississippi State played, I don't care home, I don't care away, I don't care neutral site against some other good 3-loss teams like, I don't know, Wisconsin or Penn State. They're a double-digit dog. They're an underdog against Arkansas, who has the same record. They're a 5.5-point dog at Arkansas this weekend. I like Arkansas in that game. Come on, like Mississippi State at 17. Like this is the committee trying to give more leeway to Alabama, who's number 2. Say, they beat the 17th best team in the country. Mississippi State is not the 17th best team in the country. It makes no sense why they're here. I don't like it. It's whatever. They're going to lose to Arkansas. They'll be out of the rankings forever. Kentucky 18. Okay. NC State 19. Already talked about them. Minnesota 20. This is a dangerous team. This is a team to watch out for. They're going. I think they still have to play Iowa at Kinnick, and they still play Wisconsin. I think they can win both those games. Minnesota 10-2. Win the Big Ten. They could play, I don't know, Michigan State, Ohio State. Not sure they can win that game, but I don't know. 2-loss Minnesota, I don't think makes the playoff, but they could be playing for New Year's Six Bowl. But that's a team to kind of keep your eye out for. They still play the teams I mentioned, 21 and 22 behind them. Wisconsin, yes, Wisconsin is the best 3-loss team, not Mississippi State. Wisconsin, I thought deserved to be ranked somewhere around there. I thought they would be the 24, 25, 21 was a tad high. They're playing some of their best football right now. But like Iowa, I don't know if Iowa should be ranked. They've lost to the 2 best. They lost to Purdue and they got boat raced by Wisconsin last week. I know they have the win against Penn State, who's not ranked, and Penn State have their backup quarterback. I don't think Iowa has a single win on this against a team on this list. Doesn't make too much sense to me. Fresno State 23, that's fine. San Diego State 24, I thought they'd be a little higher. Pittsburgh 6-2, I'm fine with them staying in the top 25. Houston, where are they? Where's Houston? They're 7-1. They're coming off a big win against SMU. They're a team. I know we talk about eye test, but I watched Houston play and look, I don't think they're too far off from Cincinnati. I watched Houston play multiple games this year. They're a 13-point favorite at South Florida this week. I like Houston. Every game I've watched Houston play, they lost week 1 to Texas Tech in a neutral site. Weird game. Texas Tech's not a bad team. I am impressed when I watch Houston play. I think they're playing some of their best football right now, other than not unlike Cincinnati. If they play in the American Championship, I'll give Houston a chance to win that game. UTSA is 16, the AP poll. They're not ranked at all in the college football playoff. I thought they'd be ranked somewhere between 25 and 21. Guess not. Penn State's ranked in the AP poll, not ranked in the top 25. Have no issue with that. Louisiana's not ranked in the CFP poll, ranked in the top 25. No issue with that. Arkansas, I think if they beat, look, last thing on Mississippi State. If Arkansas beats Mississippi State, are they in the top 15? Are they the top 16 teams? Like, I wonder what the committee will do if Arkansas beats Mississippi State, if or when Arkansas beats Mississippi State. I think that's about it from the rankings. Go back to the top for a little bit. Just kind of do some final thoughts on there. The only teams, in my opinion, that kind of control the teams that don't control their own destiny, I should say, Ohio State doesn't. Ohio State, I think, needs a little bit of more help because they've lost the head-to-head to Oregon. Michigan State, good position. Georgia, obviously the best position of anybody. If Bama, wins out, they win the SEC, they're obviously going to get in. If they don't, they're out. Michigan's got a lot of work to do. Oklahoma's got a lot of work to do. Cincinnati, just play better football and you're going to get in. All right, that's my full breakdown of these college football top 25. Hope you enjoyed this. We're definitely going to do some more of this as the weeks go on here as the CFP race heats up. We'll see you next time.